What's up, guys? So you guys wanted to see this deck profile for the Legacy, I don't even know what to call it. I just called it kind of like Legacy. Because it's got Legacy Yatagarasu. Like, that card is so cool. But it's even cooler when your opponent happens to bring out Dark Dust Spirit, and you can Legacy, and you can draw 2 cards. You get to go plus with it. But the main reason why I'm running is basically, if you set multiple cards and they like MST, if they happen to MST Legacy of Yatagarasu, you get to draw a card. And mostly this deck was kind of made for fun. It obviously isn't like the greatest thing. It's not essentially like huge in the meta, but it does net you like an advantage of +1 if they happen to MST it, and that's why I kind of like it. Plus, I just really wanted to thin the deck, and that's basically why it's in here. But there's a lot of better alternatives like Upstart Goblin because you could, attack for a lot in this deck. But yeah, so here's the deck profile, and then I'll explain some stuff as I go along. So we got a Black Luster Soldier, and we got 2 Breakers, a Caius, 3 Valor, and 3 Maxi. It's just like the hand traps that I really do like in Yu-Gi-Oh! And especially because everyone's just playing windups and Insectors, you really do kind of need to run, multiples of Effect Valor and like Maxi. Like it really does help. But there are a lot of decks where like anti-meta, where it really doesn't do much, and that's kind of unfortunate. But yeah, it's just because like if you go second in Yu-Gi-Oh! And they're playing Insectors windups, it does hurt a lot if you don't happen to have these cards. Next card we got Gores, just because, the background is just the double Solemn Warnings. I decided not to go with Judgment just because of, the life cost. Plus, I'm playing Double Trag anyways, so I shouldn't be too worried about, OTKs. Then we got a Triple Drunk Synchron. Drunk Synchron's basically used to get this guy over here. I mean, there are times where you can go for a Valor if you happen to need to go for it, but pretty much it's only used to get Synchro Fusionist because that allows you to go into Librarian, which, as long as you have an Effect Valor engrave or a Breaker engrave, those are the spellcasters, or you happen to have another spellcaster in the grave, like Arcanite Magician, you get to use the Miracle Synchro Fusion. You get to add this card to your hand. Once you summon Drunk Synchron, the basic play is summon Drunk Synchron, get out Synchro Fusionist, and then you get to add Miracle Synchro Fusion to your hand, which is really good. Once Esquardia, that Elemental Hero, comes out, this deck will be a lot better just because, you can run Future Fusion in the deck, and it really helps you get that Synchro Fusionist to the graveyard. But yeah, getting this card is just really good. It's like a free plus. Plus, if it's dead, if you set the card and it's destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you get to draw a card. So there's no reason why you don't always want to set Miracle Synchro Fusion. Like, if you set, Legacy of Yatagarasu, and you set Miracle Synchro Fusion, you get to draw 2 cards, and they just use, Heavy Storm. It's really good. It's just, kind of false committing. Kind of like when Adam Korn was playing, he was playing a machine variant with, Salvo, and he would false commit, he'd set a whole bunch of Reckless Greeds, and then, obviously, then you think you can set multiple cards to the field, and then he'd activate Reckless Greed, and then draw into Heavy, and then he would just, wreck your field, because, you're thinking, oh, he's committing to the field too. So that's just kind of how, false committing works. But next up, we were at the Maxis. 2 Tomatoes. Tomato gets you Sangan to sack for Caius. Tomato also gets you Sangan. Synchro Fusionist, which is the main card. I mean, if you really want, you could happen to go for a Drunk Synchron. But mainly it's used just to get Synchro Fusion in the grave. You could opt to go for Foolish Burial, but I didn't really like it. Just because sometimes you go Foolish and then you're kind of in a situation where you're like, okay, he knows what I'm kind of using now. And they're going to be like, oh, I know what he's kind of, using, so you can set up for it, to play against it. And then next up we got 3 Tour Guide, it's just, it's a really good card. And then we got Double Trag, just because Trag is really good as well. Just because you usually can maintain a good size amount of cards in your hand. And then next up we got Dark Hole, Heavy Storm, Mind Control, and Reborn, basically the staples. Just 2 Miracle Synchro Fusion. You could opt to go with 1, just to add it to your hand, but sometimes when you draw 1, it's just really nice to just set it, because you get to net a card off of it anyways. And then we got 3 Duality, just to help out with consistency in the deck. Also, if you Duality, and it just helps you get into that Caius, or that Breaker, or just really whatever you need to set up for that Miracle Synchro Fusion later. Because Supreme Arcanite Magician is actually kind of easy to get out. I was surprised that you could just, Librarian really just helps out with that, because Junk Synchron makes Librarian by getting out. Either Maxi is also another target, which I forgot to mention. So yeah, you do have quite a bit of targets with Junk Synchron, but basically you're going to be going for Synchro Fusionist. But yeah, you could go for Maxi and just make a Librarian like that. Or Catastor, whatever you need. Yeah, and then we got 1 Jar of Greed. I probably should take this out for something else, but I just wanted to make the deck a little bit faster, and this kind of just helps out with speed, to draw into the cards you need to set up for. And then we got 3 legacy, just because I thought the card was funny, and this is more of a fun deck, but it's still relatively decent. I mean, it can still hold up to some of the high tier meta decks. And then we got Double Warning, Torrential Tribute, and Trap Dust Shoot for our traps. So it's a pretty solid deck. I'm pretty satisfied with it. Obviously, you could probably improve it a lot better by not running these cards, but I don't know, it was just kind of fun. Next up, for extra deck, we've got a Levier, number 17, a Utopia, and the off chance that I can Mind Control after I summon Break or pop a back row. And I like to Mind Control Thunder Kings just because, obviously Thunder King hurts this deck quite a bit. Next up, we got a Zen Maidens, we got an Arcanite Magician, and then 2 Supreme Arcanites. Very rarely will I ever get out 2, but I can get out 1 pretty much almost every game. This card's really good too. Its effect is, if you didn't know its effect, you place 2 spell counters on it, and once per turn you can activate the effect of removing from play, or removing 1 counter. And so he comes out at 34 attack, and he loses 1,000 attack every counter you remove. But you can use 1 to destroy a card in the field or draw 1 card. So I pretty much use the destruction effect, but if you need to draw for whatever reason, it works. Plus he's also a light, so BLS, more targets. Works relatively well, because you will be removing from play your other cards to get him out. You got Brile, Black Rose, Catastor, Orient, Scrap, Stardust, Librarian, and Trishula. But yeah, pretty much you're going to be making Librarian most of the time, just because you need to just get that Spellcaster Synchro, which is what's required for Supreme Arcanite Magician, because he's a Spellcaster Synchro type plus a Spellcaster type monster. And Librarian really just helps out with that so much, because the other Spellcasters Synchros, like Tempest, aren't as great, whereas Librarian can net you some cards if you happen to, activate Reborn, or are in a position where you can still Synchro up for some stuff. But yeah, this is my deck profile for the Legacy deck that I've been showing, and it's a pretty fun deck. But if you have any suggestions to make it more competitive, let me know in the comment section below, guys. But thanks for watching. Asian Ice White Dragon, signing out.